welcome to Studio 5. We have an amazing show. Recording artist Dante Bowe sits down with us to talk about making music history. We're catching up with another member of the Maverick City Music Collective, Joelle Barnes, for a closer look at the life behind his lyrics. And the producer of the animated film Hotel Transylvania joins us for an up-close look at a new comedy with a message. Dante Bowe is up first, but before we get to him, let's begin this week's countdown of the top 5 stories in the world of uplifting entertainment. At number 5. Amen. Amen. We pay tribute to groundbreaking actor and cultural icon Sidney Poitier following his death Thursday.
I drive a man around in his limousine and I say, yes, sir, and no, sir, and shall I take the drive, sir? Mama, that ain't no kind of a job. That ain't nothing at all.
A critic once said Sidney Poitier doesn't make movies, he makes milestones. And he made history in 1964 as the first black performer to win the Oscar for Best Actor.
It is a long journey to this moment.
And for 2 decades, he was the only African-American leading man.
I'm your son. I love you. I always have, and I always will. But you think of yourself as a colored man. I think of myself as a man.
Poitier was 94 years old.
I became interested in the civil rights struggle out of a necessity to survive. And I think my interest started many years ago, never as intensely, however, as it exists today.
At number 4, another voice of the civil rights movement.
Emmett Till, what a fine young man you're becoming.
It's the story of Mamie Till Mobley and her son, Emmett Till, being shared tonight and next Wednesday in a limited series on the ABC network.
Women of the Movement, a limited series that tells the true story of Mamie Till Mobley and her fight for justice after her 14-year-old son, Emmett Till, was lynched in Mississippi in 1955.
I want a public wake. Tonight. Open casket. And I don't want you doing a thing to him.
She went against good sense, common sense, and everyone she knew to do this thing. She went against the law. She endangered her family. She endangered herself to do something that changed history.
And we will continue our countdown in just a little bit, picking things back up at number 3. For this week's Sit Down, we are traveling to Music City, Nashville, Tennessee, for a conversation with a voice you may know from Maverick City Music and Bethel Music, Dante Bowe. And he's now making history as a solo artist. When the Grammys are handed out this year, Bowe finds himself with multiple nominations. In fact, in one category, he's nominated 3 times. Here's a look at the incredible and often trying story behind his songs.
This is the day that the Lord has made, and I ain't gonna let it slip away. I'm gonna be joyful. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm gonna be joyful today.
So I'm calling this your most powerful career year yet. How would you describe this year?
I just feel like I'm walking in the promises of God and just all the things that I was prophesied, when I was younger and spoken over by my grandma, my mom, my dad. I just feel like it's coming into fruition. So I just feel, I don't know, I'm walking into these promises.
So fast, life comes and goes. Make it last, best slow your roll.
The worship stuff is really inspired by mostly like my grandparents and their walk and that kind of sound. I guess I adopted from them. I would be in the car listening to Ty Tribbett and Yolanda Adams and CeCe Winans with my grandmother. So I adopted that worship, but then with my parents, she'd be playing like Aretha Franklin and all that. And so I think Circles was a lot of just soul undertones and R&B undertones.
Now, could you always sing, or were you?
I could always sing. Mm-hmm. I was a sneaky singer. So like whenever my parents would be gone from home, I would sing out loud, or whenever I was in the shower, I would like hum on key. Anytime I was outside of those elements, I would fake sing because I was so nervous for people to hear my actual voice. And so my grandmother heard me one day and was like, "What?" And so then I became a singer that day.
So you go from small town, and we sit here today, and you're actually making history at the Grammy Awards,
Can you believe
being nominated in gospel and Christian at the same time.
Why?
God still provide.
I found myself asking God all the time, who am I? Not even like spiritually, like a son, I know, and I'm chosen, I'm called, predestined, but other than that, like, who am I practically to people? Because I don't think I know who I am or my impact. I don't understand my impact. Even up into the Grammys. It's just the Lord showing me that, you know, you're not in control, I'm in control, and whatever I want for your life will happen.
And there was never a moment when you left me alone.
Is it true to say that 3 years ago you were homeless?
Yeah, I was. And then I moved to Columbus, and then I started living in a trailer that my pastor is paying for. And I wrote a lot of my songs in that trailer.
Things do get better, and they lied when they said it won't.
I was so depressed, so miserable, because I'm like, this is never gonna happen for me. Because I had been singing for like 6 years prior, 7 years prior, trying to do music, and it was just not doing it. And then Circles was the one we were like, okay, finally.
Now, I'm told you also dealt with trauma.
You know, probably the one you're talking about is just me being molested at a young age and going through sexual abuse, and then having to navigate through my sexuality through, you know, that whole season, and, you know, the Lord bringing me out on the other side of that. Even that is crazy in and of itself. You know, me and my grandmother just talked about it at the Dove Awards. I took my grandmother to the Dove Awards with me, and we went to breakfast, and she's like, you know, she brought it up. And then we talked about it.
Papa could see the person I've become.
So in talking about it with God, was there any blaming God or asking God why, or how could you let this happen?
There was a few times I did ask God why. The trauma had already happened. So that was I was asking God, like, pretty much, why would you allow me to go through this? This is horrible, you know what I mean? Like, the aftermath is horrible. You know what I mean? Obviously the act is too, but the aftermath is even longer. I never really blamed him though, because I just, you know, he was with me. He kind of like helped me get through it.
Mom and Dad were drug dealers?
They were drug dealers. I didn't know they were drug dealers until about 12 years old, and I think I just saw it when they was like, what in the world? They ended up stopping, you know, when I was 16 years old. I was going to church every Sunday. I ended up getting saved, and my mom got saved when I was 16. We ended up reading the Bible together, and she met Jesus when I was 16.
You going on tour?
I'm going on tour. I'm doing a tour with Four Kingdom Countries, a joint tour, and I'm very, very excited about that. And then I'm doing a Dante Bowe tour, Circles tour. Really
Dante Bowe Circles tour. How does that feel?
I don't know yet. We even us dreaming it up is like, is this really gonna happen? People are really gonna show up to this? You know what I mean? So I'm excited just to see, I guess, what happens.
It's just getting, oh, hallelujah, with a new melody. It's just getting, oh, hallelujah, with a new melody.
Now, the Academy has postponed this year's Grammy Awards because of COVID-19. But when they're finally handed out, I've got a sneaking hunch Dante will be taking home at least one, and quite possibly even more.
Still ahead.
He is my faithful Father, calling me out of the dark.
Another voice from Maverick City Music.
You really miss death by inches 1,000 times a day. That stuff is miracles.
Joelle Barnes joins us with a miracle music story.
My anchor won't be moved. 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't even count. Like when you healed my mother. I can't even count. When you redeemed my father. I can't even count. Even in the death of my brother.
I can't even count them all. Maverick City Music's Joelle Barnes ad-libbed those words during the recording of their popular tune, Million Little Miracles. And they really are his family's miracle story of surviving tough times. Barnes was born and raised in Kentucky, and he saw things fall apart all around him for about 3 years straight. But at the same time, he watched his praying mom draw even closer to her faith. Here's the timeline. His mom and dad divorce in 2009. Mom nearly dies and needs surgery in 2010. And in 2011, his brother commits suicide. In his words, he had more pain than he had comfort, and he had more questions than he had answers. But God was closer in those moments than even he knew, and the miracles have been many.
All my life I've been carried by grace. Don't ask me how, 'cause I can't explain. It's nothing short of a miracle. I'm here.
Within the last year or two, I mean, you guys are everywhere. How did it happen?
We don't really know. You know, we don't really know. I think that 2020 was a very rough year for everyone. And I think that watching like the hope fade in people's hearts was kind of heartbreaking. And I think that the music kind of like God decided to breathe on these little like altars in the form of songs to reignite hope in the hearts of his people. So we don't really know. I think like it just kind of took off like a tidal wave. We didn't plan for it to happen. We were just people getting together, writing songs and singing songs, and we didn't necessarily have a plan or a guide to try to like, you know what I mean? So we don't really know how it happened.
Count your miracles, 1, 2, 3, 4, I can't even count them all.
Your thoughts on miracles?
I got miracles on miracles.
When we think of miracles, we think about like the really grand miracles. We think about like the healing the sick, the raising the dead, like all of the grand things, right? But I think that we oftentimes miss the day-to-day miracles. You know what I mean? Like they say like you really miss death by inches 1,000 times a day. That's like that stuff is miracles. Like, and then like watching, like I related my story in the record because like these things should have broken me, should have broken my family apart, should have broken my mother. But watching like God be in the midst of it and like actually gluing us together even more so was a miracle within itself. Because I've seen things like this rip people apart. It caused people to drift away from the Lord. Like they blame God and walk away. So the fact that like everybody like in my family like decided to cling to the Lord instead of run away from him is a miracle within itself. So that's why I love miracles more than anything.
1, 2, 3, 4, I can't even count them all.
And among the many miracles Joelle Barnes can't count is his mother is healed and doing well. His dad has now fallen in love with Jesus, and he hopes his story is a testament to the faithfulness of God, even in tough times. With that, it is now time to share this week's story in pictures. Here's your Studio 5 snapshot.
I want to send love to his daughters, to his wife Kelly, and to his friends who loved him so much.
Longtime friends and fans remember comedian Bob Saget as America's dad. Saget died in Orlando sometime Sunday morning. He graced America's screens in movies and TV shows for decades, hosting America's Funniest Home Videos for 7 years. In the longtime ABC series Full House, he played the lovable dad Danny Tanner, making him a household name. A look at the 65-year-old's life in pictures is this week's Studio 5 snapshot. Just moments away.
You're human, Drag!
Dad?
Oh no, I have a total dad bod!
Get a message in a movie with the latest installment of Hotel Transylvania.
Being yourself is the coolest thing you could be. We're not meant to be the same.
The cast and creators are joining us next.
If we don't fix you guys soon, you'll be like this forever.
Being a human is the worst.
At number 3.
We're back.
We are back.
What?
Chip and Joanna Gaines are back on your TV with a whole new network, the Magnolia Network.
The Gaines' Magnolia Network is a rebranding of Discovery's DIY network, and it's now been available on cable for about a week.
With new episodes of the couple's signature show now called Fixer Upper Welcome Home. The Magnolia Network was supposed to launch in late 2020, but was delayed by the pandemic. It soft-launched on the Discovery Plus streaming service last year, where you can also stream all the new stuff.
At number 2,
a couple of big entertainment world events scrambling amid COVID-19's Omicron variant surge. The Grammys postponed, moving off its January 31st date in downtown Los Angeles. The Recording Academy and CBS saying in a statement there are just too many risks, and they say a new date is in the works. And the Sundance Film Festival calling an audible, moving to a virtual event, canceling all in-person events in Park City, Utah. Sundance kicks off January 20th.
And welcome back to Studio 5. That leaves us with just one more story in this week's countdown, and we will share that with you before we take our next break. Right now, we want to give you a Studio 5 first look at a fun film for the entire family. Producer Alice Dewey Goldstone takes us inside Hotel Transylvania, Transformania.
For centuries, no human has had the power to become a monster. Until now.
But is this safe, though?
Let's find out.
In this Hotel Transylvania, Johnny gets turned into a monster, Jack gets turned into a human, and they both have to figure out a way to get switched back so they get Johnny and Mavis Skinner here at the hotel.
Is everything okay down here?
Hey, Drac, what's up?
Tell me about some of the themes of this film. Naturally, I pulled some away, but what are some of your favorite themes in this particular comedy?
The best thing you can do is really be true to yourself and then find people who accept you for who you are.
I think being yourself is the coolest thing you could be. We're not meant to be the same. I think that's what we should remind ourselves.
If you're just yourself, sometimes people will come to you. And if they don't, maybe that's okay too.
Well, I think a major one is trust your family, be honest, be straightforward.
I used Van Helsing's transforming ray. You're human, Drac!
Dad?
Oh no!
You know, the fact that Drac comes up with this fib and tells Johnny he can't inherit the hotel because he's a human propels the whole thing. So had he just been honest in the first place, I think things would have been better for him.
What is going on?
Huh? You have such great casting in terms of voices. We have Keegan-Michael Key, Andy Samberg, David Spade, Selena Gomez. What was it like having them on the project for you?
Well, of course, they're all hysterical.
What's up? What the?
I'm Baldy!
Who are those guys?
And you have to remember, most of them were working from home as we were. So we would have to ship over equipment for them to set up in their closets or garages or wherever they could find a little peace and quiet. So that was all kind of crazy.
It's me, Uncle Griffin. You don't recognize me?
I literally never seen you before.
What was it like bringing this to fruition? Because you worked on other projects, but this was certainly a different time to be working.
Oh, yeah. Very unusual. And we tried to really be thoughtful about how we worked with everybody. And also just keeping us all on the same page. We would show some of the designs. We'd show little sequences of animation. Because if everybody's working from home, how do you come together and make the same film?
And I love that it is something for us all to watch, and it is something for kids to grasp as well as adults to grasp and laugh as well. It's really
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. That's certainly our hope.
You, a woman working in animation, what's that been like? Have you found yourself the only in the room very often?
When I started, definitely that was the case. Not anymore. Not anymore. There are lots of women, both in story, in directing, in producing. We have a woman editor who's also quite senior. I worked with a group called Women in Animation, and we're trying to get the whole industry to be 50-50. And we've come a long way with mentoring a lot of the young ones.
Why was that important to you?
First of all, just having the voices, telling the stories, having that point of view in the room is a good idea. And that's not just for women, but all kinds of places where we could do better, getting more voices in the room. I think that it's just a great career.
What lit the spark for you in animation?
Little Mermaid.
Wow.
And I was also moving into a parenting role myself and, you know, doing 8 shows a week or touring, you know, it's hard. And I think that's not unusual for a lot of people to be in animation because it is a lifestyle that you can do still while you have a family.
Time to go.
If you could give a pitch to people out there about Hotel Transylvania, why should they make time for it?
Hotel Transylvania is just what you need in your life right now. It's about trusting your instincts. It's about being true to yourself. It's about gathering your people and being in community. And that's what we all need right now.
If we don't fix you guys soon, you'll be like this forever.
Hotel Transylvania Transformania begins streaming to Amazon Prime this Friday. That is January 14th. With that, we have made it to the final story in this week's countdown of uplifting entertainment. Here's a quick look at what's finishing on top this week.
At number 1.
Brother, brother, can you believe back when we were young?
You may know Dante Bowe's voice for his work with Maverick City Music.
Said I woke up to the summer shining through, calling on my friends asking what's the move.
But Bowe's making history as a solo artist when this year's Grammy Awards are finally handed out.
When the category is read for Best Gospel Performance, it will be Joyful Dante Bowe, Voice of God Dante Bowe, Waiting on You, Elevation Worship and Maverick City Music, but one of the soloists on this is Dante Bowe. And there are only 2 other people in this category, so you got 3 out of the 5.
Why? You know, it's crazy. Yeah, it's very, very, very crazy, but I also just think God is proving himself to me. You know, there's things I've always questioned, like, oh, is this gonna happen for me? Is that gonna happen for me? Will my career even last? You know, some people, they have 1 hit and then, you know, they might have a hit and they never even get another one and all these different things. And it's just the Lord showing me that, you know, you're not in control. I'm in control, and whatever I want for your life will happen.
Boy, I wish Papa could see the person I've become.
And welcome back to Studio 5. For this week's soundtrack, we turn to another voice in the Maverick City Music Collective, Chandler Moore, and he's joined by Cody Carnes. Take a listen, and you are sure to hear why Firm Foundation is what's playing in my ear this week. On that musical note, we are almost out of time for this edition of Studio 5. So let's take a look ahead to next week's rundown.
I need to get back in the game, sir.
You want to get back in the game? Prove it. Sergeant Rodriguez was a legend. Family funeral Sunday outside of Nogales. They want his dog at the funeral. You do this, and you're back in the game.
A Studio 5 first look at the latest from actor Channing Tatum. A buddy comedy with him as a former Army Ranger with the impossible mission of training a dog to attend his owner's funeral.
Lulu, is that you?
Good girl.
Will you give hugs now? Really?
Lulu gives the best hug. You've never had a Lulu hug?
No, we don't exactly hug.
Now we pray you'll join us for that story and so much more next week. As for today, before we say goodbye, we want to head back to Nashville and check in with Dante Bowe for this week's Final Word.
If you could go back in time to speak to young Dante and give him some advice as he walked the road to get where you are today, what would you tell him?
I'll tell him, be good to yourself and be patient. You know, be good to yourself, treat yourself good. You know, a lot of times it's like we try to do these things and we, you know, talk down on ourselves, or we talk down on our dreams. We're the naysayers in our own lives, you know what I mean? And so I would tell him not to do that so much because you're already gonna have naysayers. So you don't need to be the loudest voice, you know? And, you know, it's
Add
you.
your voice to that chorus.
You know, I'm like the loudest voice. I, you know, at one point I was the loudest voice, like, you can't do it. You're not gonna, oh, I doubt that's gonna happen, you know what I mean? And so I say be good to yourself, and also just be patient. Like, let God do what he's gonna do. It's gonna happen for you. One thing I realized is that I'm not controlling this. Like, I don't know the hands to shake. I've never paid for a radio ad. I've never paid for a slot anywhere, you know what I mean? An award show, never asked to be a part of any award shows. And so to be able to perform on K-Love, Stellars, and the Dubs in 1 year is like, God, he's showing me I got this.
Dante, thank you. That is a great final word for this edition of Studio 5 and this week's look at uplifting entertainment. Until next time, make time to uplift someone around you, and then please come on back and see where Studio 5 takes you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching.